Welcome to the football show on PLZ. McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me. Delighted to have your company. If you hit that subscribe button, you will join the football family. We're absolutely delighted that you are watching so much of our content right across all our social media channels. But YouTube is where you obviously get the chance to subscribe and see so much of the unique video content and programming that we have. And if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. There's so much to talk about. And obviously, we usually always have a full team in on a Friday, Tam, but sometimes bigger stars decide that they're going to be late and just rush into the studio at the last minute.
Yeah, I don't need to tell you who that is. The man with the biggest ego here.
Yep.
World Cups and all that, and just turned up literally 30 seconds ago because he couldn't get out of his bed.
No. Absolutely. And when he was doing Macca's podcast, he was there 3.5 hours before.
Yeah, he was. He just takes it for granted in here now, and that's why he's going to get bumped.
It's not only a football show, it's now a road traffic show as well. Don't go along that Airdrie road, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. With all due respect, the majority of our audience doesn't live in your area, Ruffy. So we've got lots to talk about. You can give us your opinion as well in the section below. And don't forget, if you want to support PLZ Soccer in our bid to be bigger and better, we've got a link there for our Kickstarter project, which is up and running. What are we going to talk about? Hearts have their sights set on the new manager. Scotland are going for the must-win against Croatia. Brits abroad, we're going to talk about Scott McTominay. He's a star in Naples, and we've got the inside track on that. And the football world mourns the death of Peter Cormack, another great gone. And Ruffy, I think you're probably best placed to talk about him in a sense of having contact with him because he was your manager at Thistle.
Yeah, he certainly was. Thistle going through a bad time at that stage. We were sort of a part-time, full-time. Peter was the manager. We had only 2 full-timers on the book, was me and Alan Hansen. And Peter was our manager every morning. And what a gentleman. Anybody's come into his company is just so nice, so nice. I hate to say it, so nice to be a manager.
Yeah.
He was just really, really a nice guy. And I met him 4 months ago. I think it was at wee Rookie's funeral. And he wasn't too well then, you know, you could see. But he made the effort to go at the funeral because he knew how much Rookie was about Hibs. But he was a Hibs man as well, and Liverpool, obviously. But Partick Thistle, I think I'm going to remember him tonight, I think it is at the game.
Yeah, 9 international caps, 2 league titles, the FA Cup and the FA Cup as well during a 4-year spell at Anfield. Between 72 and 76, he worked under Bill Shankly, and to be perfectly honest with you, to be a regular in that side in what I would call the halcyon days of Liverpool, that gives you an indication of how highly regarded he was.
Yeah, and anybody had the luxury of seeing him playing. He was a gifted player, a very stylish player, you know, that lots of ability, you know, and to be in that team with the players that you're mentioning, and I'm sure the whole of Liverpool will be saddened by his loss.
Yeah, a wee bit older than you, Ruffy, wasn't he?
Yes,
78.
he was. Yes, he was. Yes, and but the team, that Liverpool team then, you know, was absolutely a fantastic team.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Lawler, Emlyn Hughes would have been in it, as well as Tommy Smith, Ian Callaghan, as ever.
Yeah.
All the greats. And to win the European trophies as well. Must have been an absolute joy being in that dressing room with Bill Shankly. But great memories, and of course Hibs fans will undoubtedly be paying tribute to him as well. So with that in mind, if you are of a certain vintage and you want to just give us a little indication of your memories, if you actually were able to see Peter Cormack play, then by all means just share it and we will read it out to you as well. So from Peter Cormack, we move on to the issues of today, and Hearts look as if they're closing in on Per-Mathias Høgmo is the man that they're talking about. 64 years of age, Norwegian. Won the title with Rosenborg in Häcken in Sweden, manager of Urawa Red Diamonds in Japan, and it looks as if he is the man. And we were talking about it, Ali. No sniffs of anybody. That's probably why.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was interesting that there was nothing really circulating until maybe around yesterday afternoon when there was a couple of names that emerged. But yeah, I'm not sure that too many Hearts fans will know much about him at this stage. I think they'll maybe be away doing their homework now. An interesting appointment, intriguing to see if he can make it work.
No surprise that there were 100 notes of interest in the job. But Hearts, a great club, and people would have seen that potential. So many people would have thought, well, I'd love a tilt at that job.
Yeah, it's a big job. It's a big job in Scottish football. Obviously in European football as well, which would be attractive to managers abroad. I think with the money going to come in from Tony Bloom and his associates, then it is a really attractive job. So I'm not surprised there was a lot of interest in it. Looks as if they're going to get a very experienced manager, great pedigree, as a manager, won titles, in different countries, coached in different countries, and again, it would be an exciting one. Obviously with Jimmy Tillin, the Scandinavian, managers seem to be hot at the minute, so if he comes in and does well at Hearts, then the Hearts fans will be delighted.
Yeah, well, Blair Malloy, our journalist, caught up with Lars Magnus Royce, who's a Norwegian journalist from TV2, to get his thoughts on what the Hearts fans can expect when the man eventually puts pen to paper.
I am interested to see how he copes with sort of a Scottish physical style of play, because there's a very much a football romantic, if you could say, and he's always. But then again, he can be pragmatic as well, because as I mentioned with Norway, he's not had the what's the best pool to choose from when he was manager. In the playoff against Hungary, he very famously chose to play without a striker, which obviously wouldn't be the case now with Norway having Sørloth and Haaland, but he can very much adapt to the personnel.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. He's a bit of a romanticist, Ruffy. I think at 64, some people would maybe raise an eyebrow at his age, but he's got all that experience. He's someone who will go in. In fact, I think the last manager of any great age at Hearts would have been Jim Jeffries. Craig Levein would have been of a specific, maybe in his late 40s, but certainly the experience would have been Jim Jeffries, an older man, but 64. And as we heard there from Lars, he can adapt. He can, I don't think Hearts fans will be happy if he's going to play without a striker, but let's hope he adapts and brings something to the party. The only thing I would say, Ruffy, is, and Tam touched on it there, he'll have to adapt, I think, to the blueprint of Tony Bloom.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what input they had in that. Obviously he's been about, and obviously that the way that they do it might have thrown that up, that he's been a success in the countries that he's went to and the teams he's been at. So, it's always a gamble when you bring somebody else in. There's no guarantee. And what kind of player he's going to bring in, from what country or whatever, because he won't really know much about our game. So, and Hearts have already went down the line of identifying Scottish players. So, it remains to be seen where he's going to get the players from.
Well, I think there's going to be, I was talking to a mad Jambo today. If there's, I think all Scottish fans fit into certain categories. You've got a die-hard Celtic fan or a die-hard Rangers fan, and then you've got, mad Jambos, mad Hibbies, Dandy Dons, and
start backtracking.
I know. I'm going to start the reverse. There's a few others that I can't think of, but from the point of view of Tony Bloom, I think there's going to be a big change. I think the biggest change is Bloom, how much money, and then from there, the strategy that allows the manager to coach the players that they want to bring in. I think that's where the biggest change will come, if indeed you suddenly get the emergence of Tony Bloom and his money.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it operates in an ideal world. I think that's the identification of players that fit a particular mould, financial and otherwise, and in terms of attributes that the manager identifies that he needs, but also too, you have an existing pool of players that are there just now who are all contracted to the club. Your first job really is to go in and try and get the best out of what you've got, to get a tune out of the players that are there and get them away from where they are just now. A really difficult start to the season for Hearts. First job was just a focus on winning games, getting a bit of confidence back, have a look, assess the squad where it is, and then we'll see where this comes into play.
Yeah, I'm dying to see how it all takes shape. The one thing, his immediate remit is, never mind anybody's stats or any kind of moneyball strategy here, get them away from trouble.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Peter. He's obviously have bigger targets going forward. I'm sure he did an interview and it's all went well in the interview and he's impressed. And he looks as if he's going to get the job. But you're right, he's got to start winning games. Hearts are bottom of the league. 2 points, I think, from 8 games. Terrible start. And they've got to get up the table, but I think the Hearts fans will be excited. It's not the usual manager in the merry-go-round. People get sacked in Scottish football and they end up with another job. I think somebody completely left field and somebody that I think will excite the Hearts fans.
I do hope he's exciting in a press conference, Ali, because the amount of times we're going into press conferences now and we're thinking, come on, Jimmy Tilleen, say something unbelievably out of left field. But he's just firing the same narrative every week. It's too early in the season,
yes.
But it's coming.
Yeah, no, we like a line.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
We like a bit of colour and we like opinions and we like people to share their opinions with us.
Yeah,
I must have loved it when Ronnie Dyer come in and said if we win the league, he's going to run around the park with no clothes on. That must have been a good line.
Yeah.
He's done that in America.
Yeah.
He won the league with New York and took his gear off and
He'd lost a bet with somebody, hadn't he?
and done press-ups in the partner that naked.
I think he was down to. I don't think he was
his
naked,
pants.
he was down to his pants, but I don't think that would have gone down well. To be fair, there was one little area there you mentioned that kind of went against the grain, running round, because I don't think there was too much running going on with the players because they looked well and truly unfit. Ronnie Dyer. And somebody says, but more importantly, Peter, is he a good lad? Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? If and the pronunciation on this, just to keep it right for us, is apparently Per-Mathias Høgmo. Høgmo. So that's from a Norwegian. So that's exactly what it is. We're going to find out exactly what he's going to offer the Jambos. Thank you to Les, who says, I thought Rangers would be described as staunch. And then die-hard Celtic fans. This could start off a whole line.
Unreasonable list.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, Ali. Of people describing certain fans in the Scottish Premiership. Thanks to Brian, who says, mad Peter Martin. I'm happy with that, Ruffy. I've been called worse. But getting them away from relegation is absolute key for the Jambos. And I did notice a story, Alan. You can always tell Tam hates International Weekend because, in his eyes, nothing happens. and you can tell it's nothing happens when I was putting together the old script and it says, Wolves are looking at Jimmy Tilleen. And I thought, really? That's a journalist sitting with a can of Kestrel thinking, I'm toiling. Is that fair?
No.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's been linked with Wolves for not having your can of Kestrel.
Ali, when I first joined, Ruffy, you'll be aware of this, when I first joined, there was a couple of journalists that when I first, and I'm not saying where I was working, but they waltzed in on the Monday, said hello, and we never saw them till the Thursday.
Really?
Absolutely. There was an old guard who could go for a bevy and then suddenly come out on the Thursday and deliver a line or a story. Look at Ali, she's about to defend the profession. Ali, I know. Yeah, well, exactly. That's it.
Lunchtimes?
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, I'm a Toucan Dan, much to your annoyance. So going out to the pub was not on my agenda. So from Hearts on to Tam's favourite subject, which is quite simply international football. And this weekend, I think it's an absolute disgrace. Ruffy, Alison and myself are all having to head to your house to watch Croatia against Scotland.
You're watching your phone, I think.
Well, we're going to
your laptop.
We're heading to your house because we know you're going to Blackpool.
That's right.
It's on YouTube only. It's just a
I don't understand how a TV company's not purchased a game or it's not on the TV. YouTube, there's no commentary, I believe, as well. I don't know how that's going to work in bars and pubs. Do they just log into YouTube and put it up on the screen? I don't know how it's going to work, but people won't be able to. Obviously, you can cast it to your TV and watch it on the telly, but yeah, I just think when you look at England last night live on ITV, STV, whatever you want to call it, and then we can't get a game on we watch it on YouTube, I just think we're treated like second-class citizens again.
Yeah.
Scottish.
Well, to be fair, and I'll be blunt about it, Ruffy, if it's only BBC and they can't buy it, there's no other broadcaster in Scotland. That's it in a nutshell. There's nobody of any. There's no other broadcaster on mainstream television interested in Scottish football.
No, but I think the company you're mentioning should do their best to get it. I mean, we're all paying a licence fee, so they should be going out of their way to keep the supporters happy. As Tam said, why are we watching the England game? Well, it's the Scotland games we want to see.
Well, those deals are all done by ITV, who control all of the ITV regions. So that's why we are subjected to England's women's internationals and England men's internationals. That's it in a nutshell. ITV control all the regions, and they are dictated to. You're getting a feed of English programmes, so that's why you're getting it. But the only broadcaster who could potentially pick it up is BBC. The rest of them may well be offered a package, but they wouldn't bite. It's much the same as in this commercial market. The opportunity to try and get the Celtic Aberdeen game. When we were talking about the space of 7 days, you can't watch Scotland and you can't watch Celtic against Aberdeen, the biggest game on the calendar in the first quarter of the Scottish Premiership season.
Yeah, we spoke about it the other night. I think just given the figures, the financial figures that were involved, 75 grand to show that game, I think you can see why Celtic said no. We're going to keep it at 3 o'clock. It means that everyone can access the game. It suits their supporters. It doesn't put people out. It doesn't inconvenience people. We're going to turn down the money and keep it because you're not talking about a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So, quite simply, we're going to have to watch it on YouTube. And over and above that, are we watching another defeat for Scotland? That's the big question, because clearly, when you look at some of the call-offs and the players that he has available, what side is he going to put out? How is he going to line them up? And what's the message to those players and how they're going to play? Well, Kenny McLean's adamant that Scotland are going there to win.
Yeah, of course. I don't think anybody wants to be suffering at this level, but we are against good opposition, but we've got good players, we're a good squad, we're a good team. We need to believe in ourselves and believe in what we're doing, and we do. We'll go to Croatia with belief that we can get a result. If not, we'd be well just staying back here, to be honest. So it's something that we're going to go over there. We'll prepare as well as we can, and we'll do everything we can.
Yeah, I mean, there is a genuine argument here where you're saying to yourself, do you want to play bigger nations, come up against a good level, know the level you have to reach, and Scotland are playing against big nations, so they really are getting tested. They're not winning the games, but they're getting tested at a higher level, Tam.
Yeah, they are, and listen, I prefer us to be playing good nations. I know it's a results business, and everybody's going to point to Steve Clarke's recent record, but I think if you look at a lot of those games, they've been against top level opposition. I think England in the league below us now. And you've seen how good Greece were last night. So there's some good nations out there, good teams. We're up there because we've done really well last season in the Nations League, and we've been bumped up into the top pot. I would rather be in there than playing against Gibraltar and San Marino's and all that and learning nothing. I think the players will learn more playing against good opposition than turning up and playing against the cannon fodder.
Yeah, what do you want to see from this, Ruffy? Because you've been at times quite critical.
No, I'm just worried about the ranking side of it. If we keep continuing getting beat, once we get the World Cup qualifiers, we're going to have two big ones. We'll be the third team. So you're going to come up against better sides. If it works, if the theory that they're throwing out, there's a lot of hurt before there's, let's go on winning ways, and it works, great, fantastic. We will have to wait and see if that is this scenario.
Yeah, that's a line that came out from John Carver. There's going to be quite a lot of pain before there's gain.
Yeah, I think we've seen quite a lot of pain already. I think you've seen a real stagnant Scotland side across the last year or so when you look at the run of results and the run of games without a win. I have to be honest and say I don't see that ending anytime soon. I don't think Scotland will take anything from the next two games, either against Croatia or on Tuesday night against Portugal. I just think the calibre of opposition is such that there's just no evidence to suggest that Scotland are capable of getting a result.
And is the manager under pressure if he doesn't get anything from these two games?
It's inevitable that questions are asked. I think the longer it goes without winning, then I think you do have pressure circulating. I think like you come back to that question, the stats of now this is now 14, 15, 16 games without a win. I think it becomes impossible not to ask it in the aftermath if there's another defeat. I do think that he will have time. I do think that he'll get the World Cup qualification campaign before the decision is made. I think you saw that in the aftermath of the European Championships, but inevitably when the team aren't playing well and aren't winning, these are questions that are mainstays.
On that point though, I think that's where the dilemma is, Tam, which is quite simply you have a remit and a contract, and the remit is get us to the World Cup and your contract's 2 years. So I'm of the belief that he will get it. I share Ali's belief on that. The only thing that would scupper that attitude is if you start to lose heavily and badly, and you don't see anything in the performances that suggest the players are responding or able to, follow the manager's call on this, or maybe the manager's style is such that it's not only scunnering the Tartan army, but we're getting nowhere.
I don't think we can play another style, but with the players we've got, Peter, it's not like it's club football where you can pick and choose who you're playing. I mean, I look at the squad we've got. We've got to play the way Steve Clarke plays. We can't be open and expansive against teams like Portugal and Germany. We've got to try and sit in and hit the counter-attack. We've done it well against Portugal. Obviously, their quality told in the end, but I just think that's the squad he's got. I think he'll get to the end of the World Cup campaign, and if we qualify, then he'll still be in charge, and if we don't, then he'll walk away. But I just find it hard to believe that there's a manager out there who would come in and get more out of the same pool of players.
Yeah, there are players that we're hoping are coming back. I mean, Rab has just said, Peter, do we have an ETA on Patterson and Hickey? Well, Hickey's long term, but Patterson, I think, is now due to come back into the Everton lineup. He's certainly training. I don't know how extensive that training is, but he's certainly training and ready to come back at some level. It'll be a slow process, though.
Well, it's a position that we need. There's no doubt about that. We've been chopping and changing there since he got injured. The worrying thing for me is we've been raving about our midfield, saying it's the best part of our team, and if you throw the Euros in it, they haven't been the best part of our team, so that needs to get sorted as well. Who's going to be our best three in the central bit? We know we haven't got a perfect striker. Don't know who that's going to be. We keep talking about the wee boy Doak. I hope he starts him. I think we're all fed up hearing about how good he is in training and how good he is and down at Middlesbrough now. So let's see him, throw him in. Other countries throw 17, 18, 19-year-olds in, so why shouldn't we?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ruffy. I think after the pain, every time you mentioned Germany, I just get into a cold sweat. It was painful, and that was before I actually went to the games. But it was painful watching at times, because I thought for the players that we had at our disposal, we should have offered a different style, a different approach, a more on the front foot when the games were there for the taking. We didn't do that.
I think that was the biggest criticism, that there wasn't anything you could hang your hat on. There was nothing, there was no spark in any games that you thought there's a moment there that can just be the catalyst to go and have a successful tournament and a campaign. And I think what was particularly difficult about it was the optimism leading into it. When you look at some of the scalps Scotland had taken, Spain, for example, going in, the organisation, there was a creativity, a fluency, just a real energy about performances. And then you got to the actual Euros and it felt as though it was incredibly flat. It was very limp. And then not really changing it within games. When you were seeing games, it just felt very staid, very stale, not maybe making changes within the game that would have energised the team. I think for many people, and I would share the view, I thought James Forrest might have had something to offer, to utilise him, to bring him in. He had a very strong end to the season with Celtic when he'd come in, arguably helped Celtic go on and win the title, and the Scottish Cup, a real pivotal role in those last 6 weeks or so of the season. I thought he could have been utilised more, but ever since then I think you've just felt this hangover from Scotland.
Yeah, I'd like to see, on that point, I'd like to see Doak thrown in. I'd like to see them be more adventurous, especially on the basis, Ruffy, that, we're not expected to win. We're not expected to win against Croatia. I mean, they still have a guy. I think Modrić is about 104 now. He's still fantastic. It just shows you how old you get, Ali, because I can remember Luka Modrić as a young player playing for Croatia at Hampden against Scotland, and he was a teenager, and I looked at him and I thought, what a signing he'd be. And eventually somebody said to us, half of Europe is chasing that lad.
Aye. No, Croatia have always produced quality players. I remember playing against Olic for Scotland in the 21s, Croatia. Guy who played with Bayern Munich was superb. Crankjar was at Rangers, was at Tottenham along with Modrić. Ripped us apart that night. So they've always had top quality players. Croatia, even before that, Davor Struker, guys like that. So I think we've actually had not a bad record against Croatia away from home, but I think it's got a real tough ask for us to go over there and try and get a point. I would go 3-5-2, Peter. I would play three at the back, and I would play Dokov, Dykes.
Yeah.
I'd crowd the middle. I think Croatia are very strong in the middle of the park, good possession wise, and I'd play three at the back, and I'd play Devlin. I'd play Devlin right wing back, and I'd play Robertson.
He's not going to play two up front.
I'd play one up front, but I'd play Doak just off him in a free roll, just getting about him.
Yeah.
In a free roll and try to get us up the park. But it'd be interesting to see what he plays. I would try and pack the defence and pack the midfield against Croatia and try and hit them in the counter, but you need pace to do that, and that's why I would play Doak.
Okay, Stephen says Davy Moyes for Scotland. They're already looking at other people who want to take the job.
You've got another job in the Premier League.
Well, I was going to say there's a sometimes you
Back to West Ham.
Yeah, you can. God Almighty, sometimes you can be lucky in the timing of getting a particular manager. But I think Steve Clarke, some people don't like him, but I tend to look at it and say, in the cold light of day, he's got that 2-year contract. He is the manager. We have to look and say, okay, we're going to back you unless it gets just unbearable to watch. And you're going to have to produce something along the way. I'm looking at that squad, Ruffy. There's obviously that late change where Shankland's out, Nesbitt's in, Dykes, Adams, Morgan, McTominay, McLean, Irving, Christie, Doak, Forrest, Gold. That back line, Devlin, Hanley, Lindsay of Preston, Mackenzie, Porteous, Ralston, Robertson and Suter. And then they'll pick from, I think Craig Gordon's going to get the shout with the backup of McCracken and Robbie McCrory.
Yeah, I think we're all sitting here talking about all these players there, but we know what's going to happen. He's going to pick as near enough as same players as he's picked the last time.
Without Doak?
Well, no, he'll change one or two, I think.
You think he'll play him?
I think he's got to. I mean,
yeah.
Ideally you would want to play him at home, in front of our own fans. But Croatia are a team that don't beat you up. They just get possession of the ball. I think we probably get beat 1-0 or maybe snatch a one each. I don't see them scoring 2 and 3 goals. It's not the way with them. And obviously Steve Clarke will go there and be organised. You can't criticise him for that. If he goes along there with a plan not to lose goals, then he'll do that because that's the way he sets up most of his teams. So I'd like to see some new faces in it, but preferably at home.
Yeah, okay, I was just looking at it, Tam, because I was wondering, is he the greatest player ever to play for Croatia? Luka Modrić.
Yeah, I'd say so in terms of his record as well. I think Prozinecki was another one. Was super. Davor Struker was a great player as well. Crankjar. No, they've always produced top players.
Are you just reading the ones that I just...
No. Ivan Perisic as well was a good player.
Him, yeah. Anybody
Keep
else?
Going, keep
Anybody
going.
else?
Prozinecki, I mentioned him. I got him in before he came up.
We should do that. We should do that one week. The sketch, the American sketch.
Dario Simic, the fullback.
The
Boban.
boy feeds them all the wrong names. I'd love you to do that.
I'll do that to him. I will honestly do that to him all through it. I think
Modrić won, Davor Struker 2, I'd say.
No. I if it was me, if I was picking them, I'd pick Modrić 1, and then I'd pick Prozinecki 2, and then Davor Struker. Ruffy, I never forget standing trackside in Barcelona, playing in a European game. I think it might have been a friendly actually against Celtic, and Sir Bobby Robson was the manager, and I was standing as a trackside reporter, and I said to him, Sir Bobby, he wasn't Sir Bobby then, I said, Bobby, I love your number 8, and he just looked at me and he went, 100 fags a day, son, 100 fags. And I thought to myself, wow. This boy must have lungs of steel. But by the way, what a player, Ruffy Prozinecki.
Unbelievable. You know, that there was a stage when every sort of a country came to play us. They had one player, you know, who just took charge of the game. Just one player who, every time he got the ball, he absolutely destroyed us. And that was at that game as well with Modrić.
Yeah.
That night, it was just every time he got the ball, it was just unbelievable.
Do you remember we were watching him at Ruffy's finest commentary moment of Real Madrid against Celtic when they get a few years ago when they get battered 5-1. I think Jota scored a belter,
kick,
a belter free kick. But Ruffy's turned around to me and he went, you know, Celtic looked really solid there for the first 2 minutes, and then Real Madrid had scored, which was absolutely outrageous. But
Solid 2 minutes there.
absolutely. But you know the great thing about it, Tam? I don't think Modrić played one pass with his instep. He played everything with the outside of his boot. He was unbelievable.
He scored a great goal against Scotland in the Euros with the outside his boot. Remember that at Hampden?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a fantastic footballer. I think maybe his last season. I think he's in and out of the team at Real Madrid. I think he's getting on now, but I think he'll still a mainstay in the Croatian team.
It's only a matter of time, Ruffy, where he's going to play for Dukla. I'm going to give him the call and say, look, Gerry McCabe's getting on a bit. Is there any chance you can...
Kevin would say he's not as good as him.
No, exactly, but I'm just saying...
Don't trap me for him, eh?
Look, Luka, do you want to just play alongside me? You do a bit of the outside of the boot, I'll do the inside, and we'll get Gerry out of the team.
No, if he was in the team, you'd be going, hey, this is my bit. Find a bit of your own. I'm in this centre bit myself.
You can't have two guys standing in the centre spot.
Two crabs.
Yeah. By the way, just on that point, I must mention it because I said I would. There is a tribute match for Gerry Collins, which is at St Roch's next Sunday, I think.
Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, fantastic. Ruffy.
You going?
Yep.
Are you going?
It's £5 a head to get in.
Thanks, Ruffy. That is fantastic.
I think my brother's playing for St Roch's.
Is he? Oh, I'll be megging him.
He's in at Blackpool this week. It's no great preparation.
It's not. So St Roch's are playing against Dukla Pumperson. We've obviously had to bring in a few people that obviously have played the game a wee bit, Ruffy, but only... it's only right and proper they want to pay tribute to Gerry. I think a lot of people want to remember Gerry. He was a great guy, brilliant lad, and you know that as well.
Yeah, you have no right through the playing wise, and obviously Partick Thistle, you know, and anybody again. We keep saying any players that have come into contact with these guys, the memories, the carry on, the laughter, the jokes, and everything. Gerry was up there. With the most at every club he was at.
Yeah, and of course when he eventually went on with Chick Young and Tony Roper to set up Dukla Pumperson, it was really a mix, Ali, of former players who still loved playing football and then what they would call celebrities who come in and would play in the team.
Z-listers.
Yeah, thanks for that. But these guys who thought they were footballers. So there was a good mix and they raised a lot of money for charity. The other thing that they managed to do, which is quite unusual, Ali, and you'll maybe appreciate this, is they obviously took on a lot of away games in places like Brazil, where the entire squad had to go to Brazil, and then obviously to get absolutely rat-arsed, and then maybe play the game. Now, the boys have all said to me, is there any chance we could really start to recreate the magic of that, you know? But I would never get away with it. Imagine me saying to my wife, we're going to Brazil.
I remember one time when I was playing with Dukla, we went down to Port Patrick for the Lifeboat Association to raise money for them, and we played the charity game in the afternoon. We're staying the night, obviously, and I was sharing the room with Gerry and Andy Ritchie.
Yeah.
And of course we'd had a few scoops and that, and we were all carrying on. We were all carrying on in the room at night, like throwing boots at each other and all that stupid stuff, laughing about everything. And then we eventually went to sleep about 3 or 4 or something like that. And next minute I'll never remember, the door got chapped at half 7, and it was a lifeboat. Our 3 had been nominated to go on a lifeboat at 8 o'clock in the morning to see what the experience was like. Can you imagine the 3 of us on a lifeboat at half 7 in the morning?
Ready to
Oh, God. again.
If anything, most of the players, Tam, mention when they come in, the banter is magnificent. As with every player I've ever encountered, and the one that sticks in my head the most, obviously because of my friendship with him, is Tam Burns loved playing football. You could actually chap Tam's door and say to him at 6:30 at night, by the way, there's a game round the corner. Do you fancy coming and playing? And Tam would be like, hold on, I'll get my boots. I'll just tell Rosemary I'm nipping out for half an hour, and he'd go and play. And that's what these boys are like.
I think that's what I missed most was the dressing room.
Yeah.
I think when you're in and about the boys, and you know the banter's flying about and you're training, and you miss that. You miss that every day. And towards the end of your career, you don't miss the running and the physical nature of being a footballer. But I think every player you speak to would say, "What do you miss most about football?" And they would say the dressing room, the camaraderie with the guys.
Yeah.
The best ones that had the banter and the Dukla was the ex-Rangers and Celtic boys.
Yes.
They loved playing in the same Dukla team, you know, because they're obviously playing against each other all their career. But the banter with them, wee Bobby Lennox and wee Alec MacDonald,
Yeah.
them, it was just fantastic.
You'll be happy to know John McDonald's still playing.
Yeah, I can
Still
imagine
plays
that.
at left back. It's incredible. And Brian says, will there be bodyguards at St Roch's? No, we're just going to fight our way onto the park, and we're going to fight our way off the park, Brian, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going to be a right good day. There's more than a few.
Go right up there, I'll send a few boys along for Springburn.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it, Ruffy. Good to know that you're going. Will you be staying for the duration? Because I'm going to tell Ali about what happens when you come to see any game that I usually play in.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the last one I get told to come to, you know, I was fortunate enough to catch your 30-yarder into the top corner. But unfortunately, closer look, I noticed their goalkeeper had a patch in his eye.
Do you know what he did, Ali? Honestly, I hit this screamer in. I hit this 30-yarder into the roof of the net. Do you know what he did? He just turned round, get into his car and left because he thought, I can't bear it.
You scored 2 by then.
Yeah.
I wasn't waiting for the hat trick. There's no way.
Into you?
No, I wasn't
No.
playing. I was
Or the blind goalie?
Oh, my, yeah. Thanks, Tom. Anyway, get along to it next Sunday. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. If you are around St Roch's, which is a great club, I've been there, the boys are magnificent. They'll certainly take care of you. £5, it's well worth it, Ruffy, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Come along and see some old legends play.
Just to abuse Peter.
Yes, and I have had that on a regular basis. By the way, before we get into the next stage of what we're going to be talking about, we're going to hear about Brits abroad and one Scott McTominay. That's coming up after the news.
Hi there, I'm Kerry, and here is your daily news update on Friday the 11th of October, brought to you by Arnold Clark. Wales manager Craig Bellamy has shared his thoughts and condolences with the family of George Baldock, who sadly passed away at the age of 31 on Wednesday, stating that a player's well-being is the most important thing in football.
You know, a lot of our players as well have played against him. And of course, we have players who've been very, very close to him and played with him for a number of years. The player's well-being is the most important. And that's where my mind went to, and it is now. You know, I'll speak to the players, I'll speak to 1 or 2 of them again this evening.
Scotland's Kenny McLean has stated that it's the responsibility of the whole squad to make those who have been called up on merit feel welcomed and part of the national side in the upcoming games in the Nations League.
I think we've always got that responsibility of making it a good environment that we're in, and it's always been a good environment since I've been here, and that, you know, I'll try and help in that as much as I can. Obviously, I've been here for a few years now, and I've been away with a lot of the boys, so it's maybe the first day or so will be a case of the lads bedding in and getting more comfortable, but it is a good group, good environment and a good squad to come into, so I'm sure they found it easy enough, and you know, as I say, they're here on merit, so they'll be excited to get going.
Finally, Heart of Midlothian have narrowed their managerial search down to just 2 candidates, with a decision potentially being made in the coming days if a deal is to be agreed. For all the latest breaking headlines, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and don't forget to download our app, which is available on Google Play and the App Store.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry. We're talking about Scotland and what they might do and the players that they have at their disposal. I have to say, Ali, Scott McTominay is ripping it up in Naples, isn't he?
You couldn't have asked for a better start. I think I think they love him. I think the goals, the performances. I think he's just hit the ground running, which is good for Scotland. You've got a player coming in that's in that kind of vein of form, and that you're not having to build him up. He's coming obviously feeling pretty good about himself and the start that he's made to his career over in Italy.
Yeah, and it'd be great if Billy Gilmour starts to really cement his place. I mean, they've got a really good quality squad as well. McTominay's come in and seized his opportunity by scoring a couple of goals.
Yeah, they're flying atop the league, Peter, and unfortunately Billy can't get in the team. He's not going. The manager's not going to change our winning team, Conte, but they're going very well. They have got a very strong squad. I think they'll run into Milan close. They've been dominant force in Serie A the last few seasons, but I think they'll run them close this season. And it's just great to see. And I just still can't believe that Man United have let them go. When I look at some of the players that are playing for Man United, what a shambles of a club to let a guy like that go. When he's come through the ranks, he's the heart and soul of the club, and they've let him go. And I'm not surprised he's doing really well in Italy.
Yeah, absolutely. Blair Malloy's been really busy. He was speaking to the Italian commentator Paul Visca about McTominay's impact.
Even when his unveiling on the pitch was something which was unique. And so the expectations were high for McTominay. But he's matched them, if not gone beyond what was expected from him. His link-up play with Lukaku is outstanding. When you kiss the badge, there was the moment when, oops, is that a bit too early to go kissing the badge? Like, was it match day 5 games into his career at Napoli? But he was trying to put across that the passion that he's received from the fans, he wants to give back. And once you've got the fans behind you, the Maradona, as it's now called, you're set.
Brilliant. Thanks to Paul for doing that. And that's what happens, Ruffy, if you're immersed in the Italian game and you're over there and you're a commentator, you still retain your Scottish accent. There's a wee bit of Italian sneaks in there.
Yeah, you could hear that.
See that, Ali? Eh?
I love the expats that come to go to Australia for a while and they come back. They talk Australian, but it always comes out. You don't find that in America as well.
Yeah.
In America, guys have been away for 4 or 5 years and that, and the accent, then all of a sudden the bit of Glasgow comes out. It just doesn't look right.
The worst one for it's Graham McDowell, the golfer. He went to college. He's not from Northern Ireland, and he went to college in America. And he comes back and he just talks American. It's just, I think he puts it on.
Yeah, my mate went on holiday for a couple of weeks to Australia, and he came back with an Aussie accent. I said, you need to have a long, hard look at yourself. 2 weeks and it's good day, mate. Have a word with yourself. Ruffy, I'll tell you one thing though about it, which is phenomenal, is it fair to say that Conte has the best ever hair replacement? I mean, it's absolutely up there.
Honestly, didn't know he had. That shows
You need to show me the old pictures.
Shows you how good it is.
I tell you, it's phenomenal, Ruffy. I mean, that was really thinning, and then all of a sudden, woof, big giant head of hair, looks magnificent, and it looks real though, doesn't it?
It's supposed to be painful, that operation.
Yeah, you get spikes in your head with some of them. Yeah, Ruffy, would you yourself? I mean, I know.
My brother's had it done. Andy's teeth.
Is that right?
He's went to Turkey. He just goes back. He's got a return. Just goes back to fall to Turkey. He gets hair done, and he's got the turkey teeth in, and he's missed killing him.
Is it painful?
Oh, killing him. It's because they're all setting into his mouth, and he said it's like a toothache. He's had it for about a week. He came back last week, and it's just a throbbing with his teeth.
He's had it done so recently.
He had it done. He got it done last weekend.
Much?
You went
A couple of grand.
for it?
A few grand. He went to Turkey. He went to Turkey for his turkey teeth.
And what about? It's for everybody.
No, he went and get his hair done and all, but he said he came back the first time he gets his hair done. He came back in the plane. And everybody was sitting with the things over their head. You could just tell all the guys were getting their hair done. And then some of the women that were getting stuff done as well, they would come out with the big chests and that.
No. Tab, how did they come out?
With a towel over them.
I don't know how they came out. But
Ruffy's on his way to Turkey.
There's a boy in my local garage. He was of nationality. And he was bald, and he went away, and he came back about 3 months later, and they went, "What do you think?" I went, "What have you done?" He had 2 wee strands. Honestly, it was 2 wee strands, and I went, "Oh, it's looking a lot better."
to be fair, it's good of Tam just to out his brother for his head and his teeth. Is it something in the DNA, just out of curiosity?
No,
your
but
dad? So he was the lonesome one?
I'm fortunate I've got hair, but he was going to, my brother was a wee bit, he get his hair done, but my dad's bald, so thankfully I take after my mum.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can you tell it's International Week?
I know exactly, Ali.
I tell you.
And by the way, it brings us nicely into Ali, you've just had your hair done yourself, which is fantastic.
Thank you for noticing.
Thank God the hairdresser came back, Ruffy. She was like looking like Janis Joplin at Woodstock at one point. Now she's brilliant, and
not saying anything.
yeah, exactly. We were talking there about just in the international football, Ruffy. We were talking about the fact that we're playing against big teams. Last night I watched England against Greece, and brilliant for Greece. They obviously paid tribute to their player, their former internationalist, who sadly passed away. George Baldock, and over and above that, England, I think they just expect to win every game, and they were just aghast at the mere thought that they'd been beaten by Greece.
Yeah, I thought they were very, very good in the Euros. I enjoyed watching them latterly in the tournament. I thought they were okay, but they always seem to tinker with it. They always do. What was last night was a sort of a non-striker role.
Yeah.
They always seem to think they're way ahead of everybody else. They've got that good players that they can do that kind of thing, but that'll bring them back down to earth.
See if Kane isn't there. I mean, Watkins is the only one. Is there anybody else that you think can play that out-and-out striker?
Well,
He's prolific. It was Ivan Toney at one point.
Aye, well, the Watkins on, and they brought the big boy Solanke on as well last night.
Yeah.
But by the way, Greece could have won by more. I think the unbelievable goal line clearance from the Pickford mistake in the first half, and then Greece had 3 goals disallowed for offside. So, I mean, it could have been a real tanking for England. And I just think they too many forward players last night. I know you've got so many forward players, but they had so many kind of forward thinking players, and Declan Rice was the only kind of defensive midfield player in the team, and Greece just picked them off. Like, Greece were brilliant, and I was delighted. I was disappointed when they lost equaliser, because I thought they deserved to win, but to go up the park and get a last minute goal, I think was fitting for their ex-teammate who sadly passed away as well.
Yeah, the other aspect of this is everybody's wondering who's going to be the manager. Lee Carsley is under no illusions about his role.
Yeah, I was quite surprised on the after the last camp, in terms of like the job's mine and like it's mine to lose and all the rest of it. Now, my remit has been clear from the start. I'm doing 3 camps. There's 3 games left, and then, hopefully I'll be going back to the 21s. So it's neither almost no impact.
Interesting.
That was because they get beat.
well.
If England had won last night, they said, yeah.
No, but that's the nature of
on a
football,
job.
isn't it? You get that knee-jerk reaction, Ali, don't you?
Yeah, always.
I wonder who's going to get it. I don't see any. Do you see any out-and-out candidate you're thinking is emerging, even from an English perspective?
No.
I can't think of anyone. Can you, Ruffy?
No.
I'd offer Big Anja.
Yeah, just gung-ho football.
Oh, be great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely it would. I don't think he'd win anything, but nevertheless. Just before we go, lads and lassies, I think it's only right to mention the real pain that a lot of Invernessians are feeling at the moment, wondering if they're going to have a club. There's a lot of people, Ryan Christie, Duncan Ferguson, the manager himself, a lot of people are trying to help in any way they can. I think Sir Alex Ferguson at one point had made a contribution. But it looks as if the next 7 days are critical for Inverness Caledonian Thistle as a club, when you consider the history and the trophy that everybody looks back on at the Scottish Cup. For that club to fold would be an absolute travesty.
I think it just shines a light on how badly mismanaged it was under the previous regime. I think you just see the difficulties that it's ran into just because of the way that it's been structured and organised.
Yeah, Ruffy, I think if we lose Inverness Caledonian Thistle, it would be a nightmare. It's a great place to go. I love Inverness. The club itself has got a good history. they battled long and weary to amalgamate up there, and after they get over the pain of that, and generations who really were not happy at the amalgamation, suddenly you have something to look back on in a Scottish Cup win.
Yeah, well, you touched on it briefly there from a way back, you know, the people who were part there then and see what it's like now. It's amazing. It's a beautiful stadium, you know, and they're really welcome them. You know, when you go up there, they know they look after you, and I'm surprised that some teams haven't helped out with maybe a game or something like that, or organising some fundraising game, because it must be difficult to raise that kind of money. I think it's 200,000. But I think they will get there. I think there are people who are interested in, you know, taking part of it. It will be a big restructuring of the whole club. Because if they don't, we all know what happens when the administration hits in, you know, and people start losing their jobs, and you don't like to see that happening. Yeah,
absolutely. We hope that something can actually happen to help them along the way. Just before we go, Ruffy, what about from your own perspective, when we look at these games and the internationals, is there one game that sticks? I always meant to ask you, is there one game that sticks in your mind that was your favourite game for Scotland? You always look back on it with great fondness. It was a brilliant trip. You played brilliantly, because I know that matters most to you. You don't really care if the team's been absolutely pumped.
Tell us about the trip.
No, Scotland-England games were always the best.
Yeah.
Particularly at Wembley, and when the supporters were there. You know, anybody had the chance to be at Wembley, and you know, and you walk out up that stair, and it's just full of Scotland flags. I miss the Scotland game. If the older guys will remember, it used to be just flags. You know, lying rampant flags, you know, none of this wee sort of a waving wee things and all that. It was the whole, I mean, I've got photos in the house I could bring in and show you. It's just complete stand of flags, and it's just amazing.
You love flags though, don't you? Because you mentioned that Aberdeen have got the flags.
That was the first thing I noticed, that they started waving the big sort of a...
Yeah.
I mean, up in Aberdeen, I've got 4 guys holding the one flag, you know, because of that.
And interestingly enough, it brings me nicely to the point that I'm going to mention to so many people. Thanks to James, who says Ruffy's save against Wales was top drawer, because I might as well mention to you, some people actually can't remember you as a goalkeeper. We were talking about it in here. I'm not going to mention the name, calm your jets, but we were talking about goalkeepers. I'm slightly biased because of our friendship, or because we're acquaintances. But I thought, you know, to go to 3 World Cups, to play for Scotland, get the caps that you did, there was a period where you were absolutely top drawer. Ali mentioned a couple of people who thought you were a dud, and then I just started fighting with her on it. But
the way I look at it is, I wasn't ever the best goalkeeper that ever played for Scotland, but I was the best at that time, because for 10 years I got picked by 5 different managers. So,
and can you run through the managers just to give everybody a sense of how good you were, because I'm biased with it?
Willie Ormond, Tommy Docherty, Ali MacLeod, Jock Stein, and latterly Alec Ferguson.
That's not a bad crew that all were a good judge of character.
Brilliant. Didn't know that. There must have been a real dearth of Scottish goalkeepers at that point.
Thanks for that, Tom.
That's why I don't
even know why I
don't do internet. That's why, because there's people like you on that.
Oh, joke, Ruffy.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you get a chance, we had on this week the journos, which I thoroughly enjoyed, Alison. I don't know about yourself. This week's journos is well worthy of your eyes and your ears, because we, with David McCarthy and Hugh McDonald, Alison and myself, talked over what was the best team of the last 40 years in Scotland, and we'd rhymed off more than a few Rangers sides, Celtic sides, Aberdeen and Dundee United, and then, Ruffy, we eventually got to 4 teams that we'd picked that we thought were the best of the last 40 years, and then we said if they played each other, who would be in the final, and then who was the ultimate best team of the last 40 years. And you know, it was a really, really good argument right along the way when you think about the great teams.
Yeah, well, if you take, well, we all know Rangers and Celtic have great teams through the year, but if you look at the other teams, you look at Grays Abbas up in Dundee there on Tuesday night, and Dundee United boy was there, and he stood up and we were talking about teams, and he read out the Dundee United team. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And Dundee United, Celtic, Rangers were in there, and Aberdeen.
Yeah, some great sides. I'll have you watch it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. But before you get ready for the big...
Yeah.
Will you be on the big Pepsi Max? Will you go on that?
No, I might go down Saturday, might have a wee trip down to the beach.
Yeah,
See what
fantastic.
the weather's like.
Cannot wait. You know what you're like when
Gonna
you...
kiss me quick, squeeze me tight. Yeah.
You know what you're like when you go on a bender with your mates.
Very slowly.
Oh, is it?
Whatever you...
Still go that, aye.
Whatever you do, Ali, don't buy the Sunday Mail on Sunday morning because Tam will be there again in Blackpool.
Is it a mate's one?
Oh, it's a mate's one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, dancer.
What's the reason for
No,
it?
it's just me and my brother going down.
Oh,
Just the two of you?
yeah, even better.
Oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. Anything. On that note, have a great time in
turned
Blackpool. Eh?
Jacuzzi heating, all right.
He's like, I can't believe the two of you are getting down, just two brothers in Blackpool. What a time that's going to be.
That's the boy for Turkey.
Aye.
Oh, you're going to look odd.
I know, he's got new teeth, new hair and everything. I'm going to look like a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks to Tam, thanks to Ali for reminding us what the hat actually said in Blackpool, and thanks to Ruffy as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. One other little thing I thought I'd draw your attention to, which quite a few people have mentioned along the way, is we've launched this weekend our Kickstarter with more than a few people across our social media offering their support. Hopefully you can click the link on this video and head through to our Kickstarter campaign and offer your support. Here's just a few of our reporters and presenters telling you what you have to do.
Hi, it's Ruffy here. If you would like to help PLZ's soccer team in our new Kickstarter project, please click on the link below and offer your support. Thank you.
And from everyone else here, thank you very much for watching and listening. Goodbye.